Good afternoon and welcome to the Ugly Grandma channel. I had filmed this video the other day and I didn't even have to rewatch it to know that I wasn't going to like how I did it. So I decided to refilm it. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. During the month of July, I read a total of 15 books. Instead of doing all of those in one video, I'm going to give you half now and half later, because before I didn't really know what I was doing and I just kind of spouted things out. Even as I was doing it, I was cringing, so I decided to go back and actually take some notes and write down who was the author of the book, why I read that book, give you a little bit of background. I also give you my rating on the book. The way I rate books is based on the 5-star system, but I have 5 criteria that I'm looking for in a book. The first one is my initial response once I'm done with the book, whether I liked it or I didn't like it. Some of them are meh, which I would give a half a star to. The next criteria is character development. Did I like the characters? Did I understand the characters? Did I understand their motivation throughout the book? Was I meant to understand their motivation throughout the book? The third one is plot and structure. Was it a page turner? Did the story flow well? That sort of thing. The next one is the writing style. Did the writing style enhance the story or distract from the story? And the last one is rereadability and recommendation. Would I reread this book and or would I recommend it to somebody else? So those are my 5 criteria. If all 5 are met, they're going to get 5 stars. I probably have a lot more 5 stars than other people, but I also have a tendency with books that I didn't enjoy to rate them a lot lower based on this criteria. This first book I finished on July 1st. Obviously, I started at the end of June, but the book was Good Morning Monster. And if I keep looking down, it's because that's where my notes are. So I apologize for not looking at the camera. This was by Catherine Gildiner. Hopefully I said that right. I heard about this book on a YouTube channel. The person that I was watching gave it a fairly high recommendation. So I decided to read this book. I read it through Kindle Unlimited. It's a nonfiction book about 5 stories of what the therapist calls her most heroic patients. These are patients who have overcome childhood trauma. It was fascinating to me to see how these people had made it through these horrific childhoods, how they were able to cope later in life, how they were able to reach out and ask for help to be able to go on and have very successful adult lives. I gave this book 4.5 stars. The next one I read was Miss Benson's Beetle by Rachel Joyce. I picked up this book at our little office book swap. We have a shelf in our office where we can swap out books. This was a historical fiction. It was based in the 1950s in London. It was about a teacher that comes to her breaking point and she basically gives up her life to travel halfway across the world to New Caledonia to look for a golden beetle that may or may not exist. It's her story of her travels and looking for this beetle. She had put an advertisement in the paper for an assistant she got. At first I found the character very annoying, but by the end of the story I just absolutely adored her. I really did enjoy this book. Gave it 3.5 stars. The next book I read was Happiness Falls by Angie Kim. This one I read for the Goodreads Poolside Puzzlers. I bought this book because it was part of the Good Morning America book club books, so I actually had this one on my Kindle. This was a mystery thriller about a father who went missing and about what may or may not have happened to him and who may or may not have done stuff to him. Although the plot was really good, I just never really got into the story. I never connected with the characters. Overall, can't say I actually enjoyed the book. It was a good book, but not one that I would recommend or reread, and that one got 2.5 stars. The next one I read was The Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher, and this was another one I picked up at the office book swap. This is a young adult fantasy book. This is about a 14-year-old girl who has the ability to manipulate dough, and that's all of her magical powers, and she says that a lot throughout the book. And she is able to use this ability to help save her kingdom. This book made me laugh out loud several times, to the point that my husband took the book when I was done with it, and he plans on reading it as well. I gave this one 4 stars. The next book I read was The Teacher by Frieda McFadden. I read this one for the Goodreads Challenge Faves. I read this one on my Kindle. This was a thriller mystery, and what I loved about this book was not only did you not know who did the murder, you weren't even quite sure who was murdered. I absolutely loved the fact that this was told from different people's points of view, so you kind of got the understanding of what was going on with each character. I absolutely loved the twist at the end of this book, and I gave this book 5 stars. The next book I read was The Thrashers by Julie Soto. I read this one for the Kindle Buzzworthy Challenge. I was able to get this book through Kindle Unlimited. This was a young adult thriller mystery, which I would say also had just a sprinkle of magical realism in there as well. This was a mystery about a group of friends who are in the popular clique, and about a young girl that unalived herself, possibly due to cyberbullying. This story kind of uncovers exactly what happened, or may not have happened, because you're not really getting the whole story from any character, which made it very interesting. I loved the way this was written. I absolutely loved the characters in this book. I loved the plot of this book. I gave this one 5 stars as well. The next book I read was The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. This was another office book swap book. We just recently did the book swap thing, so that's why I was reading so many of these. And I took a lot from my own collection into the office as well. So I wasn't just stealing them. This book was a fantasy / magical realism book. It's about a man that went back to his childhood home, or the area of his childhood home. His reminiscing about what happened to him as a child, about what happened with him and the little girl down the lane. Was an interesting story, and I really loved the characters in the book, but I really didn't like much else. I didn't really like the plot or the things that were happening, so this book only got 2 stars. So those were the first 7 books that I read during the month of July. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it that thumbs up. If you really liked it, hit the subscribe button. If you have any comments about these books, if you've read these books and you think I'm way off in the rating that I gave it, I would love to hear how you rated it and why you rated it the way you did. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.